Good morning, dear students. Welcome to your English class. Dear students, this is the third video of Unit-6 Feathered Friend. We'll continue with the explanation from para 16 onwards. Let's have a look at her, said Jock Duncan, our cook doctor dietitian. We all waited in hushed silence while he held Claribel against his ear in an attempt to detect any heartbeat. Presently, he shook his head. I can't hear anything, but that doesn't prove she's dead. I've never listened to a canary's heart, he added, rather apologetically. Now, here in this para, the narrator of the story is saying that the cook, doctor, and dietitian of their team named Jock Duncan said that let's have a look at her, means let's check what had happened to her. He just took the Claribel in his hands and started to attempt to hear the heartbeat of the bird, but he also added that he has never heard any bird's heartbeat before, so it cannot be proved that she is dead. Now let's read paragraph 17. Give her a shot of oxygen, suggested somebody, pointing to the emergency cylinder beside the door. Everyone agreed that this was an excellent idea. Claribel was tucked into a face mask that was large enough to serve as a complete oxygen tent for her. Now, here in this para, the narrator is saying that one of the persons from the team said that let's give her a shot of oxygen. Then they just took the Claribel and put her in a face mask which was connected to the oxygen cylinder, and here the narrator is saying that face mask served her as a complete oxygen tent, means that face mask was so big that it was like a tent for her. Para 18. To our delighted surprise, she revived at once, beaming broadly. Sven removed the mask and she hopped onto his finger. She gave a series of sharp trills, then promptly keeled over again. Now, here in this para 18, they are saying that after the shot of oxygen, the Claribel revived and she hopped onto Sven's finger and she started making sharp trills, means sharp noise, sharp chirping noise. The word keeled over means fell over suddenly because of tiredness or illness. Now, here they are saying that the narrator is saying that she got up and started to hop, and she was making sharp trills. Sharp trills means high pitched sound in her voice, but suddenly she fell over again due to illness. I don't get it, lamented Sven. What's wrong with her? She has never done this before. Lamented means expressed feelings of great sadness. Sven expressed his great sadness and said that I have never seen her doing such before. What had happened to her? Para 20. For the last few minutes, something had been tugging at my memory. My mind seemed to be very sluggish that morning. Sluggish means lacking energy or alertness, slow to respond. Now here in these two lines which I have read from para 20, the narrator is saying that morning his mind was very sluggish. Sluggish means his mind was feeling very tired and slow to respond to things. and he said that something was tugging in his memory, means he was remembering something, but he didn't, it was not coming to his mind clearly. As if I was still unable to cast off the burden of sleep. As if I was still unable to cast off the burden of sleep. Cast off the burden of sleep means continue to feel tired and sleep as if he were just waking up. Means he was feeling tired, his mind was feeling tired and slow to respond as if he has not slept for the whole night. I felt that I could do with some of that oxygen, but before I could reach the mask, understanding exploded in my brain. I whirled on the duty engineer and said urgently, Jim, there's something wrong with the air. That's why Clarivell passed out. I've just remembered that miners used to carry canaries down to warn them of gas. Now, here, the narrator of the story is saying that he felt that he should also take a shot of oxygen so that he could feel better. Then suddenly a thing came in his mind and he said to Jim that there was something wrong to the air and that's why Claribel has passed out. And he also remembered that miners took canary to warn them about the gas. Para 21. Nonsense, said Jim. The alarms would have gone off. We've got two circuits operating independently. Now, in this para, Jim replied to the narrator that he was talking nonsense, and he said that if something had really gone wrong to the air, then the alarms must have responded to it. And he said that we have got two circuits operating independently. Para 22. The second alarm circuit isn't connected up yet, his assistant reminded him. That shook Jim. He left without a word while we stood arguing and passing the oxygen bottle around. Now, here in this para 22, the the assistant of Jim said to the narrator and Jim that the second circuit was not connected yet, and this shook Jim. Shook Jim means this gave a shock to Jim, and he left the place without a word and went to check what had happened. While they were arguing and passing the oxygen cylinder. Para 23. He came back 10 minutes later with a sheepish expression. Sheepish means slightly embarrassed because he knew he had been careless and done something wrong. It was one of those accidents that couldn't possibly happen. We'd had one of our rare eclipses by the Earth's shadow that night. Part of the air purifier had frozen up, and the single alarm in the circuit had failed to go off. $500,000 worth of chemical and electronic engineering had let us down completely. Without Claribel, we should soon have been slightly dead. Now here, in this para number 23, the narrator is saying that when Jim returned, he had a sheepish expression. Sheepish means a shameful expression on his face. That means he was feeling ashamed because he had done something wrong. Next, he is saying that it was the worst accident which had happened, and he says that $500,000 of chemicals and electronic engineering which they have done had let them down. And he said that night That night they had one of the rarest eclipse of Earth's shadow, and the air purifier had frozen up that night, and the single circuit had also failed to warn them. And he at the end he says that without Claribel they should have been dead. Para 24. So now, if you visit any space station, don't be surprised if you hear an inexplicable snatch of bird song. There's no need to be alarmed. On the contrary, in fact, it will mean that you're being double safeguarded at practically no extra expense. Inexplicable means that which cannot be explained or accounted for. Snatch means a short part. Here, in the last paragraph, the narrator is saying that if if ever you go to the space station and you are surprised to hear the short sound of the bird, then you shouldn't be surprised, because there won't be any kind of um, explanation for that, and there's no need to be alarmed. On the contrary, he says that it will mean that you are being safeguarded with double safeguarded without any expense. He says so because the expense on Claribel was uh, equal to nothing, and the way Claribel worked for them, it saved their lives. That's why the narrator is saying that you are being double safeguarded if you ever see a Claribel on the space station. That's all for today. Thank you and have a good day.